Okay, welcome to episode 16 of the BattleVault, a no dice, no glory podcast dedicated to the world of BattleVault's 15mm tactical gaming, including Flames of War, World War III Team Yankee, Great War, NAM, and Fate of the Nation. Today is the 22nd of March, 2021. I am Ed, and I'm joined by my buddy Tom. So, Tom, what are we going to be talking about on this episode?
Oh, man. We'll be talking about Wolfkrieg.
Yeah.
Tons of it. No, I don't know about you, but I am fried. My back is killing me today. I could barely get in my truck to go to work. So for those of you out there not familiar, Wolfkrieg this year had both Flames of War and Team Yankee days, and it occurred over 2 different weekends. So Ed and I have played 12 Flames of War / Team Yankee games in the last, that would be, how many days was that? It would be 9 days. 9 day
period, yeah.
9-day period. We played 12 games. And that's hard on us old dudes.
Yeah. Yeah, and the thing is, we weren't even going to play in the second part.
Yeah, but we got lucky. They needed us for fillers. I guess we'll talk about that when we get to them.
Yeah.
We'll go over. So there's at least one other tournament we have to cover, and then we'll talk about the 4 different Wolfkrieg tournaments that have just wrapped up. And so we'll start off with our typical mention and dispatches, going over the recent Flames of War and Team Yankee tournament results. And we'll have a Heroes of the Hobby interview with Chris Fretz. We've had Chris on a lot, but I really wanted to bring him in because he does a lot of meta crunching and analysis, and I think he'll be a good guy to tell us what we should take from the Wolfkrieg results. You and I may touch on it slightly as we review them and go over some of the lists, but I think he'll be able to identify some good trends and maybe some things we should think about for the future. Yeah. And then I've got a lot of rules Ed forgot, but unless you can remember what you forgot, Ed, none of them have to do anything with you. No, and yeah. So it is rules that I came across that were forgotten by me and my opponents in these 4 different tournaments, and you're going to be surprised by who forgot forgot rules and what they forgot, because they're all very highly ranked Flames of War Team Yankee players.
Yeah, we've got some big namers here in this last tournament. So.
Oh yeah, it was fantastic. Yeah. And then upcoming events we will go over, and there's a lot. It's like things are popping up on the radar screen. It's like light at the end of the tunnel. So there are a lot of things coming up in the near future that we'll get to partake in, and we'll have to now make hard choices again, because we can't do them all. Yeah. So there you go. That's what we're going to cover. Sound like a good plan?
Sounds great.
All right. Well, the first event we have to cover on is on the 28th of February in Newark, Ohio. They played a 105-point late war open, and I don't have very solid results on this, but John Meyer, our good friend up there who ran this event, he did post the top 3 lists. So that's all I have, and all I know, it was 15 players. So we'll go over a 3rd place first. Now, apparently, there's some guy named Tarnin. I don't know that individual. I guess that would be his last name. So Ed, why don't you tell us what Tarnin was running?
Yeah, it looks like he was running a D-Day Waffen SS force, and it looks like it's a Panzer Grenadier force.
Yep. Yeah. One of my favorite.
Two platoons of Grenadiers, the standard force with the headquarters. Then he had the mortars, armored mortars, and he had the gun platoon with 4 of the 75s, the snub nose 75s.
Yep. Only 4, not the 6.
Yeah, just 4.
Everybody takes 6.
He had what?
Everybody else takes 6.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know if the SS book has an option for 6. It's something I need to look at, because we had another player this weekend play with 4 also. Right. So maybe the SS option only has 4. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that was Andrew Hobson. You might be right, because I know he played Waffen SS on Saturday. But we'll come back to that. Yeah. All right, cool.
And then he had his pack of 375 pack 40s there.
Yep.
Looks like he had in support some 250 Scouts, Vespas, Panzer III OP, and 3 Tigers.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like these are standard Tigers. I don't know. Those SS Tigers for 30-something points?
It says Tiger SS Tank Platoon.
Oh, yeah, it sure does. And yeah, it's microprint, doesn't it?
Yeah.
All right. So, and it looks like he had pack front card and the assault flag.
Yeah.
Okay. And wow, this is huge. And he also had the 1/16th, and that's how he got all the extra stuff. Okay.
Yeah, so he saved 12 points in that. Now, this is something that kind of caught me off guard when I saw this. And that's that he used a 1/16th Panzer Division Greyhound card, which I thought was possibly limited to D-Day German. And he used it in a D-Day Waffen SS book. So he took his support units and his main formation units all out of the D-Day, and he has command cards from both. He has D-Day Waffen SS command cards and D-Day German command cards. So that might be something to follow up on, and maybe Chris can help us out with that later when we get a chance to talk to him, because that's pretty sneaky. I already like the D-Day Waffen SS. I played that against you in all of our Race to Minsk campaign scenarios.
Right.
And I like them because they're cheap. But if this is legal to take that 1/16th Panzer Division Greyhound card and apply it to a unit like the SS or I don't know, something like Beach Defenders or something, maybe there's some other cards can work then. That's huge.
But that doesn't sound right, because this 1/16th, they weren't SS. So how can you use SS data?
The logic escapes me, Ed. I understand, but I'm just saying that doesn't mean that's not the way it is. And who knows what random Phil Yates ruling is floating around out there on the internet. I would never have thought in a million years to do that, but I'm guessing that somebody, there was some discussion, and maybe this is the way he came down on the fence with it, and I don't know, or maybe we're just dumb. maybe we just don't get it. So we'll ask Chris.
What did you call me?
Yeah. Well, I called us.
So, okay, thank you, Tom.
So we will
in that great comment.
And that's why we bring in people smarter than us, like Chris. So we'll have to save that question for him. All right, let's move on to number 2. Tony Davis. What's Tony rocking here?
Tony, hang on. My mouse has just died on me. There you go. Well, it's locked.
All right. Well, as you unlock your system for a second, I'll pick up Tony's list. Okay. He was running a recce squadron. So that was his core formation: Daimler Dingo, Universal Carrier, 3-inch more. Yeah. So that was his base force. But then he had it supported by Avrays, the petards, 2 sections of those, and 2 sections of M10 tank destroyers, and an allied unit of another section of M10 tank destroyers. So he had 3 tank destroyer platoons. He also managed to put in a Italy Churchill armored troop and from Fortress Europe, and then he also had the British D-Day command cards with the 4.2-inch mortars, and he also had the Desert Veterans card. So we're going all over the place here. He's taking his core formation is in fact a command card itself from British D-Day, right?
Yeah.
His support comes from that, but he also takes support from the Fortress Europe formation book. That's where he got the Italy Churchills with the 6-pounders, and he also takes the an allied unit from D-Day US, and then he takes the D-Day US command card for. So he's basically taking stuff out of 3 books and 2 command card decks to get this force. So I think we're limiting ourselves. I think there's something up out there that we need to tune into, and that's that there may be a bit more flexibility and less building than you and I have inherently been thinking. So and Tony's a great player. He's been coming on strong. Unfortunately, kind of the COVID kind of put he was a huge player in version 3, version 2. And then he kind of dropped off the radar screen with version 4 for a while, first couple of years. But then I guess we got enough momentum going in Ohio, and so he decided to get back in. So it's good to see him coming back. And it's not surprising to see him at second. And it's also not surprising to see him coming up with really intricate, well laid out list design. You got to say, man, three TD platoons, two Avray with petard platoons, and the Churchills. And pretty good force. I think the only thing he's missing that I really obviously didn't handicap him too much because he came in second. But where's the infantry? There's nobody to go into buildings. Yeah. I think we're going to have to put a lot more buildings. And you know how we tend to put our buildings in the center of the board? We always put like the town in the center. Mm-hmm. I think we're going to put more town areas around the deployment areas because people just aren't taking infantry. And I think a lot of it has to do is that when we do put buildings and towns out on our boards, mm-hmm. I just noticed they tend to gravitate towards the center of the board. So it's hard to make that your defensive point. And so, in any case, just an observation of mine. All right.
I saw Tony at the Skoda Fest there at the end of the year last year. So that was the first time I had seen him in a long time.
Yeah, he's a really good player. It's good to see him getting back in the groove. Mm-hmm. And then first place, Tim McClellan, prior U.S. Masters champ and always in the U.S. Masters, one of those really and always plays Germans, I think, almost always, at least in Flames of War. So what's Tim rocking?
It looks like the same as what Tannen's there at the first there. It's a German, let's see. It is not the SS version. It's a Grenadier unit. Mm-hmm. But he has a 6-gun half tracks with the 75s there, so gun platoon. Mm-hmm. He has the 4 armored mortars, 3 75 packs. He has 4 of the 10-4 anti-aircraft. He has Luke Scouts, and he brings in the HS-129s there.
Yeah, we don't see much of those.
Yeah, I haven't seen them in a while either. That's good. Mm-hmm. And then there you go. He's got a Ferdinand.
All right.
A Ferdinand tank hunter, 13 points. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He got a lucky card. He's got the armored flak half tracks. Armored flak half tracks.
Yeah, he's the command card to upgrade his half tracks to armored. That's what you're looking at.
The card. Okay, I didn't see that.
Yeah, that's what you're looking at.
Yeah, you go. And then he has the 1/16th also to sneak in some more units there.
Yeah, saving him 14 points.
Yeah, quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he takes so this force, again, mixing and matching here. He's Fortress Europe German force, being modified by D-Day German command cards. Mm-hmm. And then taking additional support out of D-Day Waffen SS with the
5 Stugs. Yeah,
that's a great unit. I used to run 5 Fallschirmjäger Stugs in the Market Garden list, the Kampfgruppe Karut. And it actually was a whole brigade. It was like the 213th Sturmgeschütz Brigade or something, or Fallschirm Sturmgeschütz, I forgot. But it was all that was left of the entire brigade was those 5 vehicles. so it's pretty interesting. Anyways, no, what's missing here, Ed?
What's missing was me. I wasn't there.
Oh, no, what's missing in his list?
Yeah,
that you see in almost every other German list these days.
What do I not see? I didn't see the pack front.
There you go. Bingo.
Yeah.
We have the bingo, Ed. Yeah. We don't need no stinking pack front. So he goes to first place with some high-quality players up there, and he takes first. And he has a single Ferdinand and 5 Stugs as a tank force. And then he has his pack 40s, no 88s, and no pack front even for the pack 40s. So
yeah, I find that pretty interesting. All he had with the mortars for indirect. He did have the harassment for the HS-129s, but that was it. And wow, I would say he's pretty much doing some attacking here, actually.
I've played him many times, and a couple times, but he beat me pretty bad both times. And normally he's defending. So normally what gets me in trouble is I'm way over aggressive, and he's extremely cautious and calculating, and he just bleeds me out until he jumps in. Yeah. So, anyway,
but without a pack front, and that's pretty interesting because that has not been the trend the past several tournaments.
Right, indeed. So pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. So congratulations to Tim and Tony and what was that first guy's name? It was Tarnin or however you pronounce it. I don't know if that's a first name or last name. We've never met him before. So, and if he is a new player, because we would know most of the guys in Ohio,
Yeah.
So if he is a new player, it's great to see new players, placing well in events with guys like Tony and Tim at. So
Yeah, absolutely.
all right. So now we roll into
Oh,
Wolfkrieg.
Wolfkrieg.
So for the folks out there, you've heard us talk about Wolfkrieg before. It's our kind of hallmark event for our local gaming community. Typically, we would get close to 50 players, and we always do it as a theater-themed event, and always with red on blue matchups. And we do our best to occasionally have to slip in one or two blue on blue, but we try our best to keep it balanced. And we have many players like Ed and myself who are just ready to change on a dime for whatever's required.
Yep.
So the first weekend, now it was so popular because of the limitations, because of COVID, we could only get a certain number of players. So we determined that, at least the store determined, Hard Knocks Games, the host, that they would do 16-player event. And they would do, and because they're doing 16 players, there's no need to make it a 5-round, 2-day event like we normally do when we have 50 players.
Yeah.
So given that was the case, I came up with the idea, and they endorsed it, or at least adopted it, we'll do Flames of War on a Saturday and do a Team Yankee on a Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the idea. And that was so popular that it filled up completely with just the local folks, because the local players had priority for signing up. And then because hardly any out-of-town folks were able to get a slot in the first weekend, Hard Knocks Games ran it again on a second weekend, giving priority for the out-of-town folks. So we had 2 Flames of War tournaments and 2 Team Yankee tournaments, red on blue on both at 100, or all 4 of them. All 4 of them were red on blue, and all 4 of them were 105 points. So that was the format that we used.
Yeah, Chad was able to rearrange the room a little bit, so we were able to squeeze in an additional table, and so
we got
that was good too.
We got some extra folks in, and I think on the first Wolfkrieg for the Flames of War on March 13th, we ended up having 17 players, really 16 because Chad and Alan Gomez were together the ringer. They kind of Chad played 2 of the ringer games, and then Alan Gomez played 1. So they combined the cover down on that. And we had a perfect pairing on this one. It was right down the middle, wasn't it? It was 8 Soviet and 8 Germans.
Mm-hmm.
And so how'd this one go?
It went pretty well. I like it when we do the red on blue.
Yeah.
The force was you're playing historical, and that's what I like about this. It is historical, and we're actually fighting historical foes.
Yeah. Well, it's always, that's right. It's fun having the opponents matched up against their traditional counterpart forces.
Yeah,
that's what it's all about. Well, we're not gonna. I don't think we need to run through all 16 placings. Let's go through the top 3, starting with 3rd place, and work our way up.
But can't we go through the top 4, Tom?
All right. We'll go through the top 4. Let's take it down a notch. We'll go top 5. So who came in 5th place here?
In 5th place, we had a tie. We had Lawrence Broussard, which is one of our local guys.
Yeah, junior. Lawrence Broussard
Junior.
Yeah,
and he was relatively new, but he's doing really well.
That was his best placing, and he's been playing pretty well for about a year now, and so he's getting up there.
Yeah, we did some practicing before we came to the tournament, and it paid off.
Yeah, that was you. You were help coaching, and
mm-hmm.
Yeah, indeed. So well done on your coaching efforts there.
Yeah.
And, he was tied with Howard West, who'd come over from Pittsburgh, and he was running Soviets.
Mm-hmm. And that was with 14 points.
Who's this tool that came in 4th place?
That was me.
Yeah. And you were running Soviet.
Yes, I was. I was playing the just plain old T-34 Hero unit. Nothing special at all about it. Standard aircraft in support. Right. It's nothing fancy at all.
Yeah. And then 3rd place was Carl Bellotti from now he came all the way up from Houston, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and not only was he in 3rd place, but he also had best painted. He had incredibly gorgeous, just world-class painting skill in him. Mm-hmm. So that was awesome. And he was playing a Soviet force. He had a lot of infantry. I'm not sure which force it was.
I think he had was it Hero Motor Unit? Hero
Motor Rifles?
roll. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
it'd be Hero Motor Rifle or Hero Shock Rifle would be.
I don't think it was the shock.
Okay. Yeah, I just saw they had a lot of infantry and some really well painted infantry and some great looking tanks to go with them.
Yeah,
So
very.
great for us and great to see him. He had a great time. He brought his wife up and she
Mm-hmm.
hung her out in the area and he's like, "Yeah, I'm coming back, man. This has been great. You guys are awesome." So thanks, Carl, if you're listening, for making the long trek from Houston all the way to Elizabethtown, Kentucky, just to play toy soldiers with us. But it was great having you on board, and he was just a great guy. I didn't get a chance to play him, but I'm sure he was a contender for best sport as well. So
I'm sure he was.
all right.
Mm-hmm.
And then speaking of best sport,
hold it.
number two
Speaking
guy was
of other
complete opposite of that.
tools, you mean
Yeah.
other tools?
Yeah, complete opposite of best sport. So that was me with 18 points, and I ran a T-34 battalion also, Ed, but I do not favor the hero option. I like the big units of, 7 T-34s. So I had my headquarters T-34 85, two units of 7 T-34 85. So I was rocking 15 of those things. I also had 7 T-70s, which did great work for me. A little scrappy hero SMG unit as part of the formations. The 3-2 mortar platoon, and then I had the 122 artillery in support with under the cover of smoke, Sturmovix BA-64s, and I like the force. I did well for me here. I've not done as well with it in the past, and I definitely did worse with it on the second Wolfkrieg. I didn't change the force at all. Yeah. But here it worked out for me. I got some good matchups. Things went pretty well, and it was a lot of fun. I just like running that force.
So you learned how to use the T-70s, those little scrappers that everybody ignores. Then all of a sudden, there they are.
Yeah, they do great work. They get in there and they're I mean, you can't just ignore 7 of them.
Yeah, that's right.
So all right, and then first place was Jim McKinney, one of our local players from Kentucky. And he had 21 points, and I had the pleasure of getting trounced by him in the last round. So he and I were matched up in the last round. He won 6-3, but that was still, even though I lost, I still had enough points to hold on to second at least. So it was good playing him. And so let's talk about Jim McKinney's force there.
Okay, let me scan down here. It looks like he had he had the Tiger force.
Yep.
It was amazing. He had the headquarters Tigers, a single headquarters, and let's see, he played it out of the Fortress Europe book, so It wasn't the SS, it was the standard Fortress Europe. 3 Tigers in the first platoon, 3 Tigers in the second platoon, so a total of 7 Tigers in there. 3 Lukes. 2 10-4 AA, mobile AA there.
Yep.
A full Grenadier platoon with Faust. And let's see, out of the D-Day support book, he had Beach Grenadier platoon.
Yep.
Let's see.
Yeah, and that's
it. That's all he had.
Yeah. So, and what is he missing from his list?
Pack fronts and 88s.
Well, yeah, there would be no room for that. But what is the one combat arm missing? He's got tanks. He
doesn't have the artillery support the air support.
Yeah. So I could live without the air, but I have to have infantry, tanks, and artillery. I have to have all 3 of those in every list I ever play.
Right.
But in any case, but hey, it worked for him, and he really outclassed me. We had encounter. No, we had dust up. And we both had reserves. And it was on your crazy board that was like completely open with woods on the edge. So he just hung back out in the woods and sniped me from long range forever.
Hey, that was a good looking board. I just wish I got more votes.
Yeah, it needs. Yeah. Well, it wouldn't get votes from me, man. It was just too open. You could shoot all the way across with those Tigers. There was just huge lines of sight, and so there's no way for those T-34s to cross all that space and get at them, because T-34s can't beat Tigers at long range, especially not Tigers in concealment. So he just slowly whittled me down in a painful, excruciating way until he decided to lumber forward and, take the objective. So,
we had a good-sized town in the middle of the board. You did have some blocking. You just can't run straight on them. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, there was nowhere to run at him at all. That town didn't provide enough cover. It just covered a little, like, again, in the center. It's right there in the center, and it's just a little minor thing. You can shoot all the way around either side of it, and anyway, so good game with Jim. He surprised me that he did so well with just Tigers and infantry and no artillery. But
that's it.
Of course, I didn't have much infantry that he had to blow out with artillery. All I had was a Hero SMG unit. That wasn't really much of a deterrent for Tigers to come in and beat. I don't even have the AT6s for him or the RPG 6s. Mm-hmm. So anyways, congratulations to Jim. So that was the Wolfkrieg Saturday on 13th March. Then on 14th March, we switched to Team Yankee with almost the same group. And so let's cover we'll cover the top 6 here, Ed. How about that? We'll do that for you.
That sounds like a great idea, Tom.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Okay, so tied with me at 6th place, we had Dominic Passard, so the other Passard, and he was playing. Let's see, what was he? He was playing Israeli French force.
Yes.
Yeah, and so we tied at 11 points. Which isn't much, but it makes me happy just getting above 10 whenever I play my West Germans. If I can do that, I'm a happy guy.
Yeah.
And so that's what I had. In 5th place, we had Chris Fretz with his new Dutch force that he just finished painting up. Looks really nice. Yep. And he also got Best Sport.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Not uncommon for him to get Best Sport.
Yeah, right. He's very good to play with because you learn a lot in the process of playing other rules that you may not have thought of. He is the source.
Okay.
Carl Bellotti again from Houston.
Yep, from Houston.
Playing his 17. He got 17 points. He was playing the Soviets, and he again got Best Painted. Again, very well done. It's just amazing.
Yeah, he's just going to win that every time he shows up.
Yeah, I think so. As long as there's a Best Painted, he's going to win it.
Mm-hmm.
And oh no, look at who's tied with him at second. It was a 3-way tie for second.
Yeah, there was a 3-way tie for second, so I ended up as 3rd overall.
Yeah. Okay. And so you were playing Soviets like you usually do.
Yeah, BMP battalion with a medium-sized BMP unit and a small-sized BMP3 unit. BMP2 is medium, BMP3 is large. Artillery, typical stuff. Scouts, Gaskins, Gophers, a lot of stuff. And then the 4 T-80s, not the shock T-80s, but the regular T-80s. And those guys were bullies. I drew my first game against Chris Fretz. I was defending in no retreat. And that one ended up being a timed out. We both just had so much stuff to maneuver. It was just hard to get through that game. But anyways, so they did well. The T-80s were pretty awesome. That was the reason why I didn't do well in the first game. They didn't show up till the end. Any case, and then Howard West was also tied for second with myself and Carl, but he had the strength of schedule, and he won with his East Germans and with some Soviet allies.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I played him. He and I tied it. Had a 3-3 tie in our second game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody won more than 2 games.
Right.
So. And then Charlie Clay, our brother from Arkansas, my tanker brother.
Yeah.
He came in with 18 points for playing East Germans.
Yes.
Yeah, really pretty forces too. He could win Best Painted as well. Great with those DDR decals on him and really well camouflaged. So great looking stuff. Yeah. So what Charlie?
He slammed me in the first round. It was a trouncing so bad. I was thinking, oh my God, this is going to be a long weekend.
Well, you got a 6-3, so you got some points out of it.
Yeah, at the very end, the last turn, I just happened to knock off 2 platoons there. Mm-hmm. But it took the whole game for anything to happen there.
Yeah. So he basically went 6-3, 6-3, 6-3. Yeah. So he was bleeding points like Soviet players often do. And unfortunately, he played no retreat against you, breakthrough in a second round against Gordon Gregson, which is his co-pilot coming up from Arkansas, and a good guy too, wearing his first Cav stuff. And then he played Dominic Fassard at the end with free for all and got a 6-3. So
Yeah.
so he was running a T-72M Panzer Battalion. So what do you have in his formation and support here, Ed?
Well, let's see what he's got here. Okay.
Well,
what does he have in
battalion,
support, or what does he have?
Well, he's got a T-72 Panzer Battalion headquarters, 2 companies of 6 T-72s. These are the T-72Ms.
Yeah.
And then he has a third company with the T-55 AM2s, outfitted with mine clearing devices, recon. And interesting, I don't see a whole lot of people using BMPs as recon, but he has Aufklärung Zug of 4 BMP-1 scouts. It just, I just normally just see the BRDMs and, but there you go. So it's a pretty good unit to also do a little missile shooting for him.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be worth it if they got the scout rule, I think. And maybe they do have the scout rule. I'll have to take a look at it.
I believe they do.
Oh, okay. Well, that's maybe why he takes them.
Yeah, for 4 points for at a point each, there you go. You got your scout function. You got some kind of response if you wanted to use it. I mean, good. It's a good unit.
Yeah. Oh, it does. I mean, I know it has spearhead, but it does also have the scout rule where it's concealed and gone to ground if it moves in concealment.
Oh, yeah. Don't know for sure there.
Yeah. Just curious about that. There's something I'm missing there. I don't normally think about taking BMPs as recon, but apparently it worked for him. Gaskins for air support, anti-air support. Also the Shilkas, full Gaskins, 4 Shilkas.
Yep.
And Carnation Battery.
Yep. That was a standard force there.
Yeah.
And so for support, he had his MI-24s, and he had 2 of them. One with the assault landing group.
No. He had 1 unit of 4 Hinds.
Yeah.
And he has the guys that ride in the Hinds. That's what you're looking at.
Okay. Is that how that's written out? Okay.
Yeah, that's how it's written.
Okay.
Some Spandrels, little cheap 2-point Spandrel unit, and 6 Su-25 Frog Foot.
Yeah.
6 of them.
Yeah, those are pretty devastating.
So that's a pretty good force. And he had the BMP-OP. I think we skipped that.
Yeah, that's correct.
BMP. And the Germans, East Germans, they are better trained than the regular Soviets. They're usually ranging in on 4s. So their skill is usually a 4+. So they're a little bit better than the Soviets in bringing the fire, at least indirect fire. So good force. And he's played this thing a lot. This has been his go-to for a long time. So and he'll be excited.
That force looks really familiar, by the way.
Oh yeah, I wonder why. Well,
I wonder why.
Get more to that a bit later on.
Yeah.
All right. Well, congratulations to Charlie Clay. Well deserved, my tanker brother. You're a great guy. Glad to see you pulled out that event, and so awesome. So then we move on to the second weekend, which was focused on the out of town.
We were able to get that extra board in, so we had 18 players here.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was a tough weekend.
Well, the reason we had 18 players, we were originally planning for 16, and Ed and I were not scheduled to play in the second weekend at all. We were on standby. So what happened was the balance wasn't very even. There were way more NATO, way more in the World War II tournament on the second weekend. There were way more Germans than Soviets, and so they needed more players to play Soviets. And again, Ed and I are ready to jump in as needed. And so did Chad as the official ringer. So all 3 of us ended up having to play Soviet to make the thing balanced out with 9 Allied 9 German and 9 Soviet. So that's how we got a little expansion. So we got lucky because if there wasn't an imbalance, we would not have been in there. So
yeah, that's right.
So let's start off with number 5 on this one. Newsflash: neither Ed or I will be in the top 5.
No, we're not. If that was the case, we'd be starting at number 9.
Yeah, I'd be right above you at 8.
Yeah, I know. You got an extra 2 points on me.
There you go. All right, so fifth place, Chris Fretz with
Chris
his
Fretz, playing his Soviets again.
Yep. His hero. He is a hero shock rifle. No, or he's a hero
motor.
Or is he hero shock? I know Aaron is. I think he's a hero shock guy. So, in fact, we should know. We'll ask him when he comes on later.
We'll have to ask Aaron.
That was the whole point of our last podcast, was the hero shock best list ever, right? And that's when we interviewed him last time.
Okay.
All right. Number 4, John Cedarberg.
John Cedarberg, yeah.
Yeah, 19 points.
19 points playing German.
And I played him in the first round, and he totally trounced me. We played rear guard, and I got to talk about his list for a second. He had Panzer Grenadiers with maxed out Shreks, and he had 3 units, 2 full size, 1 small size, but all of them were plussed up with the 2 extra Shrek teams. Vespin support, and he had 2 Tigers, and he had a pack front. And I'll tell you what, he defended in all 3 missions, and which, I guess is more discussion for later on when we get Chris on board. But a lot of people say, well, you always have to attack. You can't be a defensive player. This guy went 3 rounds, chose defense every time, and I believe he I guess he did. He probably had 2 8-1s, and then maybe
he had 3 8-1s.
Yeah. The kid had 3 8-1s in this battle or this tournament. He only has 19 points.
Oh yeah.
So he got 8 points off of me. I'll tell you that. and then maybe his next round was 7-2, and then maybe he had a 3-6 or something. I don't know. I don't know how the math works. And then coming in above him at third place, Jim McKinney, playing Germans, playing the same Tiger force that he had in the first weekend. So there are a couple people who got lucky and got to be in both weekends. And he made some changes. And he added artillery. He added the vest. I think he dropped 1 infantry and added artillery. And I played him in this tournament too in the last round, and he trounced me again. And I had my moment. I did catch his Tigers and Ferdinand. He had a Ferdinand. He had headquarters Tiger, and then he had a platoon of 2 Tigers and a platoon of 3 Tigers, and he had artillery and some anti-air. And I don't think he had infantry in this force. I think he totally dropped the infantry completely.
Yeah, I think.
But in any case, I did get a close-end battle. He was in some wheat fields and stuff, so it was pretty consuming. I can't blame the table on you, Ed, because this was the table I set up. But I did get my ambush. We were playing counterattack, where I had an ambush, and I had my reserves coming on the first turn. So I caught him in a sandwich with all of his Tigers in Ferdinand in between T-34-85 unit on one side and T-34-85 unit on the other side. And I was able to get one of them within close range. But the concealment, I robbing those hits. And I had 3 failed firepowers against Tigers. And when you get that situation, you got to deliver that turn. I mean, I set up the key. I was able, lucky in the plan, to come at him from both sides to make sure I got rear shots or rear and or side shots. Mm-hmm. That plan worked out. I got the hits. He failed some saves, and out of all, ultimately only ends up killing one. I killed 1 Tiger and 1 Ferdinand the entire game. That was it. And then he just slowly whittles away my T-34-85s, and so it was a great thing. But that concealment, and then my inability to roll more than a 3 on a firepower check, that you get that critical point, right, where the momentum shifts. It's like, if these guys don't deliver this turn, that's it. And
that's it.
And I told him that too. I said, this is the turn. I'm either going to win the game or lose the game this turn. We continued on later. I just tried to see if I could pick up another point or two, and I did just like the last time I played him. I took away all of his soft. I killed the Ferdinand. That was a platoon. I took away his ADA and his artillery. So I went for the soft chewy parts. Way to go, T-70s.
Yeah. Anyway, what you said there kind of counters what I think when I play. You got that turn, and the poop hits the fan, and it just doesn't work out. You know what? But don't get down on it. Hang on, because somewhere along the line, something's going to happen.
Well,
okay? And it may just turn,
That was a done deal. I was not going to win that game. There's no doubt. But I still had a chance to go for my points and, make sure that I didn't make it easy for him. So we did play on a bit. I mean, I had Stormovic, so you never know. I could get lucky and knock out another platoon or whatever, but not to be. Not so in any case, following from Jim McKinney, we had Joe Lewis playing Germans. I'm not even sure what Joe was playing this time. I don't even know if he had pack front or not or what. I'm sure he typically plays Panzer Grenadiers, and he typically has, I think, pack front in there. So I'm at least last few times I played.
He did, but I'm not sure. But I think he did.
Yeah, I think it was pretty standard, and then a couple of Tigers, typical, standard kind of German list. That's what I played him earlier in the year, and so I think he's probably sticking with that. And then coming in first place, great guy, awesome sportsman, Andrew Hobson. 24 points. So Andrew went perfect 3-8-1s.
Yeah, and also his force is beautifully painted as well.
Oh yeah. He always a masterful painter.
Yeah.
And so what did Andrew do? He played in his
straight
first.
Eights. Yeah.
Yeah, right. He played J.B. Cedarberg in Dust Up when he was attacking.
Yep.
And then he played Alex Higginbotham in rear guard in the second round with 8-1. And it doesn't say whether he was attacking or not. And then in his third round, he attacked against Chad, and doesn't say what mission they played. So, and let me talk about Chad real quick.
Yeah.
Chad, man, what a soldier. He honchoed this thing. He ended up being ringer, I think, in all 4 events, and still tried to keep everything going and on schedule. And then he did these fantastic write-ups. If you're not on Facebook and you haven't seen the breakdowns, he's got all these lists posted for every player. He'll tell you who they played in what rounds, what the score was, what the mission was. In most cases, who attacked and who defended. I guess that the player score was properly. So there's a lot of data there, and that's hopefully something Chris tomorrow can help us out. Chris today, and because you'll be hearing it today, but we're going to record it tomorrow. We'll interview Chris, but hopefully he can shed some light on what all that means, because he's done some great job with analysis in the past. So well done to Andrew. And what did he have for a list? SS, D-Day, Waffen SS, my boys. So how'd he run his force?
Let's see. Okay, well, he had the Grenadiers, it looks like, and it looks like it's a straight.
It's a Panzer Grenadier force.
Yep. Yeah. And one of them one of the platoons was armored.
Yep, and the other one not. And both full, and both with 3 Panzer Shreks.
Yeah. And he had a third platoon of standard Panzer Grenadiers.
Yep.
And with Shreks. Only two mortars in the mortar section. Mm-hmm. But he had a full 75 pack. Armored. Oh, that's the gun platoon.
Yeah, that Stummels. Yep. So you might be right, Ed. The SS maybe are limited to a platoon of 4, because this is what we saw in the earlier list. We were talking the Tremin list.
Yeah.
Very similar. In fact, God, it's almost a Tiger correction. It's almost a carbon copy, isn't it? Almost. Yeah. He's got the Recon 259s for support.
250s.
Yeah, 250s with a 250/9. I'm sorry,
Yep. And the Vespas, he had Vespa artillery.
Yep, SS Vespa, always a good bargain. 7 points to get artillery that reins in on a 3. That's great.
And
3 Tigers.
3 Tigers and 4 Panzer IVs.
Yeah, Panzer IVs. SS Panzer IVs.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And here you go.
Of course, the 1/16th card.
Yeah, 1/16th card from the D-Day German book being used to modify the SS D-Day SS force, saving him 12 points, which, bought him his Stummel platoon, and what else would it have paid for? Well, any number of things. I was just looking. His Vespa artillery, those 2 units there are almost 13 points. So that's almost like covered both of them right there. So pretty awesome. No pack front, no 88s.
No pack front.
So here's the second tournament in a row, or second tournament we've discussed where the top German list and the overall winner did not take pack front.
Yeah.
So maybe the glory days of the pack front have waned a bit, perhaps. I don't know. Chris Fretz will know. We'll ask him.
Well, if I had come in and had to play German, I had pack front. And I also had heavy tank hunters. with my 21st division.
Yeah, if I had to play my German list, it was the exact same list you played against in the Mist campaign for all those battles, which
that's right.
Which has back front. So yeah, all right, well, good deal for brother Andrew. Congratulations to you, man. First class player, and great to see guy with such a positive attitude. It's like the whole package, great painter, great player. A great person, just a joy to play against. In fact, I got to play him in the last round on the next day for the Team Yankee event. We'll talk about that in a minute. But just good to see when such a individual comes out on top. So congratulations, Andrew. All right. Whew. That's a lot of stuff. We're almost there, folks.
And we still got the last one to talk about.
Got the last tournament we're going to talk about. Wolfkrieg Team Yankee second weekend on the 21st of March. 16-man tournament, little bit skewed here. We only had 7 Warsaw Pact and 9 NATO. And if Ed and I and Chad hadn't chipped in as Soviet, it would have only been 4 Warsaw Pact and 9 NATO. So we lucked out. We got drafted in to help balance out the forces. We are ready to go with our Soviets. Yeah. So let's start off at number 5 and work.
I think that's a good idea, Tom.
Yeah.
With 5th place, we had John Cedarberg playing as West Germans. Yay!
Not John. It's not John.
Oh, JB. That's his
son. The younger. Cedarberg the younger, not Cedarberg the elder.
Ah, where did he come in?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. That's what I thought.
Yeah,
okay,
we'll get to
we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah. And
he was playing West German.
With Israeli infantry support. Interesting mix. Let me tell you, man, Israeli infantry is no joke. They got a ton of troops in those platoons. They're I'm gonna have to take a hard look at them. They're pretty. They look. I was impressed by his Israeli infantry.
Yeah, I like seeing them do well.
I played JB in the second round. Had a 6-3 win in contact where I was the attacker, and used that BMP awesome dash speed to. Move up and basically, spearhead with the BRDMs, move up behind a big smoke screen, and basically just swamp the objective with a ton of stuff. So there really wasn't any way for him to win that game after the first move, but he fought me hard and surprised me with an attack from my rear because I wasn't sure where his reserves came in from. Anyway, so that was a great game with JB. Well done, and he certainly made it bloody and painful for me.
Yeah.
And so he came in 5th overall and was the second. He came in 2nd place for NATO. That's it. That's a typo.
Okay. All right.
All right. And then some tool came in 4th place. Who was that?
Who is that tool?
Yeah.
That would be me.
Yeah.
And Tom had to put together a Soviet force for me because I don't have Soviets, and so we had to even it out.
And I have so many Soviets.
Yeah, you have enough to make many
two forces. But because I was running my BMPs, that made you had to run a tank battalion.
Yes, well, I was happy to do so.
So you ran, and we did it as
East German.
Yeah, East German, so that you'd have the headquarters T-72, and you had 3 platoons of 6 T-72Ms.
Crunch.
Yeah, that was a pretty good little force. And then you had the BMP, small BMP unit with the only addition was the Grails, the SA-14s.
Yep.
So 5 BMPs and their dismounts and Grails. You had the Carnations as formation support. You had the BRDM-2s, just 2 of them for recon. You had the Shilkas and the Gaskins both in the formation. And I think that pretty much covers the formation. But then you had an allied formation too, right?
Yeah, I had the allied formation of T-55Ms. And so
Soviet ones with missiles.
Hold it. Yeah, hang on.
Yeah, they were Soviet.
Yeah, Soviet. Excuse me.
The
Soviet.
T-55 AM2s or whatever, the Soviet version with the missile, the Snapper, I think is that missile. And maybe not. I forgot what the name of their missile is.
I can't remember now.
But whatever, you had those for the two units of 5, the headquarters, and then they had their own anti-air. They had another unit of Gaskins. I have so many Gaskins. So that was pretty cool, man. You did well for. I mean, you had never touched this force. You only saw the list the night before, and you managed to get up to 4th place with it. So how many wins did you have?
Oh, you're asking me questions here. How many wins?
Well, you had
I
16
had, I had 2 wins, or
Yeah, you had to have had 2 wins. There's no way to get 16 points.
yeah, that's right. I had a 7-2, and then I had a 3-3 with Chris Fretz, and then I had a 6-3 in my last game.
Okay, that sounds good. Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
That's impressive to do so well with a force that you've never actually maneuvered before.
Yeah.
So,
I liked it. I had a great time with it. I'm usually playing defensive with my West Germans, but man, it was nice to go out charging and crunching.
Yeah, and with that many hulls, and you can, and you don't have to worry about all those ADA units. What are the West German Gepards, and tearing up your BMPs.
Although I did run into them.
Oh, I know, but your tanks will just run through them.
Yeah.
Yeah, my BMPs suffer pretty badly against Gepards and Lavs and all these things. Your tanks are just like, I don't care, get out of my way. So, awesome. So just above you came some other tool, and third point. That was me.
That would be you, Tom, with 17 points.
Yeah, I won my first game 8-1 playing my good buddy Chris Grau. I love you, brother. We had he played with no retreat, and again, Tom's favorite tactic: lay smoke, rush up behind the smoke, get in close, and then just pounce. And but where I had my artillery templated, I had the Hales. I won't go too much to the force. It's a BMP battalion with T-80s in support. I had Hales and Carnations and Hinds. And the other usual supporting suspects. And the forward objective, even though that was covered by minefields to its direct front, I had my rocket box right around that objective, so he didn't want to start off deployed in that objective. And then not too far from that objective, there was a building that was pretty key that I put my Carnations ranged in on. And so it looked like, I'm very carefully mapping out with my templates, doing stuff. So Chris didn't even deploy in those things because he just didn't want to suffer the repeat bombardments from all that scunion. And but I didn't use the repeat. I didn't use the artillery. I used it for smoke, and I made a V with the 12-inch legs on each side from those 2 units. So the rocket aiming point was exactly 12 inches away from the artillery aiming point. So it was one leg of the V, and the other leg was coming off from the artillery. And I basically just rushed everything up behind that. He came around and did some maneuvering. He shot up some BMPs, but he was shooting me with firepower 5, so I'm getting a ton of bales. And, of course, with my commander right there, everybody remounts, and next turn off to the races. But my T-80s just came in and just pushed the only guys he had even close to contesting the objective. They just pushed them right off. And he had reserves. His M1s didn't come in quick enough. And so it was pretty much the writing was on the wall. I think we only ended up having to play like 3 or 4 turns. And he went for his points, realizing that there was no way he could counterattack and push back through that mob and push those T-80s out of there. But so he went. He had knocked out. He knocked out one of my BMP units, and he had attempted to knock out my. Almost got the the anti-tank guided missile launchers. The ones that fire, I forgot, the AT-6 launchers. Those, they're on the MTLB chassis. I forgot what they call those. Oh, the Storms. Those guys. He went after my BRDMs and knocked out one of those, so forced a check there. He shot up my air pretty badly, so it was having to force a check. Anyways, bottom line was he forced like 3 checks in the last round and didn't get not a single one fell his way.
Oh, wow.
So ended up being an 8-1. Really should have been about a 6-3. He certainly played at that caliber. So anyways, great game with my buddy Chris. Then JB, I kind of talked about that game already. And then my last round was the Andrew Hobson. And we had encounter, and it was just, we played plenty of turns, but neither of us could really move across the board particularly well. And it basically ended up being a draw. So with both of us getting 3 points, we both killed enough stuff. Anyway, so enough of me and my stuff. So Jake Mayer came in second place with a Soviet force.
And, I think the Soviet was it a Polish force?
It says Soviet. I think it was Soviet. I don't think it was Polish. He did have Heinz, I know, because I found one of his rocket pods on a table that I played on. I had to take it back to him. I didn't get a real good close look at his force. If I went to Facebook, I could pull it up. And again, all of these lists for all these players, and even the ones we didn't even mention, are all on Facebook under the Team Yankee forum or the Flames of War. Team Yankee group, World War III Team Yankee group, or the Flames of War group. Chad did a great job putting all that information in there. And then, so I'm sorry I didn't get to see much of his force, and I didn't really get the chance to talk to him very well or very often. He came up with Brian Coaches also from Texas. So glad those guys came up, and congratulations for Jake for placing second overall. And then first overall we had
John Zederberg Sr. there.
Yeah, big surprise.
Yeah.
So anyway, so let's take a look at John. Congratulations to John, but let's take a look at what he did. So he defended against Scott Atkinson and Dust Up in round 1. Then he defended in Bridgehead against Andrew Hobson, getting a 6-3 in round 2. And then in round 3, he defended against Brian Coaches and No Retreat. So he picked defend every round. And by the way Chad did it is, you did your mission table, you picked your stance, attack, maneuver, defend. Then he rolled a die. He did not repeat the die roll, so that's how the mission selections went. And so he won all 3 games, 8-1, followed by 2 6-3s. And what did he have for a force there, Ed?
Well, let's see what he had. He had a beautifully painted force. He had BTR. He had the motor rifle battalion.
Yep, BTR based.
BTR 60s, right? And so BTR 60 headquarters, looks like 1, 2, 3 BTR 60 companies.
Yep.
And he had those 5 T-80s.
Yeah, with the sniper upgrade. So that was his 45.1 unit reserve.
Yeah.
Yep.
Of course, he had BRDM-2 for recon, 2 of those. Carnation battery. The ZSU 23-4s, and he had Gaskins for air defense. He also had in support the 3 Storms as well.
Yeah, the upgraded Storm, the 89 spiral ones,
yes.
Spiral 2s, I should say. Those same ones I had too. So,
okay.
Yep. So he's only has 5 tanks. Everything else is, and then he's defending, so he's got 3 big bulky Soviet infantry companies, a crap load of 31 BTR 60s to run around the board.
Yeah.
That's a lot of machine gun power, and it's AT5, so it can deal with a lot of the light armor and the mech stuff. The Bradley, you can do it. Well, not so much the Bradleys, but they can do some serious damage.
Well, let me take a look at something real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're talking so many infantry. There's, you only have 2.5 hours.
But he was defending, so he's not hardly moving that infantry.
He's not. He doesn't have to move along.
What does each infantry company have?
It had. Let's see. That's why I just moved up there too. Let's see.
They each had 7 AK-74 teams.
Mm-hmm.
6
but
RPG teams.
They had the improved
LMG team. The improved upgraded RPG-7.
RPG-7s, RPG-7 VRs. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and each of them had 2 Spigot teams. So each of those companies can put down 6 AT-4 shots a turn.
Yeah.
So that's 18 AT-4 shots a turn coming off of infantry, assuming they're not pinned, in which case they shoot none. But, they're fearless, so they're usually unpinning. And then he's probably got his commander situated where he can at least help 2 of those companies. And so, he just waits for his T-70s to show up and police up what's left.
T-80s, yeah.
Yeah, T-80s, police up what's left. So I'm surprised. And again, too, if his tanks are off the board and planes show up, most of that force doesn't care about planes, except for the BTR 60s. And it's kind of a waste to send planes after them. Mm-hmm. Pretty, and then he's got, I imagine that if he had some heavy tanks on the board early, the Storms are there. They're not going to last long. There's only 3 of them. But you know what the range is on an AT-9 Spiral 2 in this game?
It's like 64 inches or something like that.
You are exactly correct, Ed. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm good with numbers, but don't ask me to remember anything else.
Yeah, they are 64 inches, man. That's pretty awesome. So congratulations to John. And again, showing that, now notice a trend in the Flames of War event. He chose defend every time, right? And he won that event. And the next day he comes back and runs these BTR guys, chooses defend every time, and wins that event. So pretty that
brings up something I'd like to talk to you and maybe get Chris Frett's opinion about. It's by not having a choice on this, but having a choice to pick a stance, but it can't be the same one if you're playing a 3-game tournament. It has to be one of each.
Well, you can do that.
I think that'll require everybody to think of more diversified force, because you got to think offense and defense. Yeah. And so I think the choices of and the composition of forces will change quite a bit.
You're probably right. Now, the Able Company guys do something like that, where you can't choose the same stance more than twice. They don't you have to do one of each, but you can defend twice, but then you're doing something else the other round. So, so that's kind of interesting. I don't know that ever. I don't really. For me personally, that makes no difference. My force, I like to attack. I will generally pick attack. I will occasionally pick defend, like I did against Chris Fretz in the first tournament.
Right.
The third tournament, I went for attack every time. And but I can defend with my force too.
Well, you've got a diversified force. Other people that go
balanced.
Heavy on one side or the other, they find it much more difficult having to do a different stance.
You'd be surprised. John is not a passive player. I wouldn't be surprised in a lot of these games that his infantry got up out of their holes and chased people down.
Oh yeah, with all those infantry, you can't stop them all.
Especially with the RPG 7s, with the 2+ firepower. He probably, he'll come at you. There's no doubt. So I'm pretty sure he could. He doesn't look like an attacking force except for the T-80s, but I wouldn't be surprised if he could do some great amount of damage. And honestly, the way I attack with my BMPs. I go into battle mounted and I take the hits and I just go to see how many guys, because you get so far with the BMPs, dashing or using the, you can train dash 16 inches.
16 inches.
Yeah, for the train dash, or cross country 24, I think it is. Yeah. And you can even move tactically 14 and still fire with a -1. But I find that I can send those big BMP units forward. And I can lose, 3 or 4 BMPs. Okay, fine. But you know what? Most of the infantry survives, and they generally unpin. So, and now they're in the position forward, up in my opponent's face. So, anyway, so he could probably do the same thing with BTR 60s. They're just not as good at shooting stuff on the way up because they only have the machine, the small, the 14.7 millimeter gun.
Right.
Anyways, awesome. So we had a great time. I thoroughly enjoyed. Just to be able to play 12 tournament games in a 9-day period. I think that's the most saturation for gaming I've had in a long time. Even including going to Historicon and playing, over 3 days, playing a whole bunch of tournaments or something. So that was a great experience. I almost kind of wish we could keep the same format next year, but I'm sure we'll go back to the 50-player extravaganza of old days.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Well, it'd be nice.
Maybe we can talk Wayne and Chad into keeping with the 2-weekend concept, though, and maybe we could do a Flames of War weekend followed by a Team Yankee weekend, and 5-round 2-day tournaments for 2 weekends in a row.
Yeah,
maybe we could get away with that. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, I like that idea.
So, anyways, great thanks out there to Hard Knocks Games, our unofficial sponsor. You get to hear their commercials on the breaks. Wayne's supposed to be getting me a new commercial. Hope he has got it set up, focusing on mail order, online orders and all their high-end modeling products. Hopefully he's got that put together. So maybe we'll be hearing that on this podcast. We'll find out as I edit the thing and string it together later. So anything else you want to cover here, Ed?
Oh, I think it's good. Very enjoyable, and I appreciate all those people that travel very long distances.
Well, let's
to come down and see
this. So how are we doing in the rankings? How's that going on overall? We don't talk much about that. So
what are you talking
let's
about?
look at the current season. Let's go for the top 5 for for Team Yankee USA. I got this. Don't worry about it, Ed. It's not on the script.
Yeah, I've got it on my other computer here.
Okay. Well, for Team Yankee USA, for this current season, which ends at the end of April, John Cederberg is currently 5th. I'm sure he's going to pop up after this event first.
Yeah.
William White is 4th with 3 tournaments. Howard West is 3rd with 6 tournaments. John Meyer is 2nd with 5 tournaments, and David Vieger is 1st with 4 tournaments. But that'll change a lot after this weekend with all these scores. I know John will pop up quite a bit now.
Right.
And,
I think this hasn't been updated in a while.
Well, it's still like I just said, it's missing the Flames or the Team Yankee events from the last 2 weekends.
Okay.
So that's a given. They're not there. That's why John will move up in those points. So What do we have for Flames of War for this current season?
Let's take a look, shall we?
I'm very interested in that. Okay, there it goes. It's pulled up. So at 5th place, we have Andrew Hobson, who will go with 3 events, and he'll go up because he won the Flames of War Wolfkrieg event. So he'll pop up a bunch of points.
Hey, look at
number
that
4.
guy in 4th position.
Who the hell is that?
That would be this guy.
Yeah, Ed Hall. So you're not going to go up in points off of Wolfkrieg, but congratulations on being in the top 5 there, Ed. All Glorious Fleeting is probably going to be bumped down after these
that's
results.
only because COVID put me there.
Yeah, and then Chris Fretz is number 3 with 7 tournaments. Oh Lord, 7 tournaments during the COVID year. That's pretty impressive. Although they run a lot of events in Indianapolis, so I guess that's not surprising. And then he travels to a lot of our events and other ones. Joe Lewis at number 2 with 6 tournaments. And then number 1.
15 with 6 tournaments.
Yeah, and then John Cederberg for 1 with 4 tournaments.
4 tournaments at 323. That is an amazing 80-point average in each one.
Yep, and he might get a few more points bump off of Wolfkrieg here from his Flames of War finish. So in any case, just for those folks that are and thanks for Joe Lewis and company for maintaining battle rankings and keeping things straight. But we just had to touch on it since you're in the top 5 for the moment.
Yeah.
You shall be bumped.
I will be bumped.
You will be bumped, but hopefully you'll stay close enough and maybe have a chance for Masters. That would be great to see you there. So
I don't think I'll ever make it there.
Nah, you might. Keep at it, man. You're not getting better all the time. Anyway, so anything else we want to cover in this segment? I think we've been going on for a good bit.
No, I think we're good for the moment. We can talk some painting and what we're working on and stuff like this later.
That's an hour overall, so we'll have to be a little bit shorter on the second events. We knew we had a lot of details to get into. Mm-hmm. So, all right, well, let's take a break, and we'll come back from that and hopefully get some good words of wisdom from Chris Fretz.
Yay. All right, sounds good.
When it comes to paint tools and hobby supplies, Hard Knocks Games offers quantity and quality. We carry hundreds of hard-to-find products from brands like Ammo of MiG, Mr. Hobby, and AK Interactive. Come shop our massive selection of games, model kits, and more at 5571 North Dixie Highway. Or find us online at hardknocksgames.com.
Johnny, take!
All right, well, everybody, welcome back from the break. Hope you had a good couple minutes there to enjoy Hard Knocks Games' new ad there. So, and you really should check out their store in terms of their high-end modeling supplies, the AK, the MiG ammo, all the stuff. And I'm glad they finally got a commercial out that talks about the website and the stock that they carry there for the high-end modeler. High-end modelers, just like Chris Fretz. we told you we're going to bring him in for this next block, and he, besides being a great gamer and a great sport, he's also a fantastic painter and puts a lot of time and effort to what he works on and brings to the battlefield, and it always shows. So, Chris, welcome.
Thank you. Good to be back.
Yeah, I think you were on our last episode. You may be our first back-to-back guy.
Ow.
I'm not sure. But the reason I want to get you. Oh, and by the way, we lost Ed. Technical difficulties. Maybe he'll jump back in later on. We shall see. But we'll carry on because I have some definite questions, and I definitely wanted to get Chris here You heard us earlier talking about some confusion that we had between Ed and I about some of these new lists, particularly with the German list. It appears to be. I haven't seen it so much with other formations or other types, but just some of the amazing amount of diversity or variations we're seeing in some of these forces. So he's going to clarify that for us, and then he's going to take a look at the trends and analysis from Wolfkrieg. He's taken a look at the data that Chad Underdunk has shared with us on the Facebook forums. Chad did a great job breaking everything down. So Chris is taking a look at that, and we're going to see if there's anything noteworthy or not going forward coming out of Wolfkrieg. Are there any key takeaways or anything, lessons learned, or things that other people out there in the community might be concerned about? So, Chris, are you as worn out as Ed and I were?
I am, yes, because I did 3 of the 4 days of Wolfkrieg. I came down for the Team Yankee the first weekend, and then I did both of them last weekend. So yes, I am. That's a lot of games.
Yeah. Well, Ed and I both managed to get into all 12, all 4 events, all 12 games, and I tell you, 12 tournament games in 9 days was a big push. So I just got done. Here it is, Tuesday. I just finally got done putting my stuff up, all my terrain and all my models and everything. So, anyways, I'm glad.
Same.
Yeah, indeed. Well, hey, so one of the things we were looking at was some of the top lists. The one from the February 28th event out in Pittsburgh that Tim McClellan ran. Our buddy Andrew Hobson in one of the Wolfkrieg events also had something that was kind of similar, but it's and there's some discussion on Facebook. I was trying to follow the discussion that folks are having about how these books and supports and command cards all intertwine, and it gets really confusing. It's somewhat convoluted, particularly it appears for the Germans. I don't see it happening with other forces, but it seems like German players are really mixing and matching pieces and parts. So
well, they have the most books to be able to do it at this point. I mean, that's the thing is the Americans and the British and the Soviets really just have the Fortress Europe book and their D-Day books or the Bagration book. So there's not as much need to really get into those kind. There's no way to add parts from a third book, which the Germans are able to do because they have 3 books.
Okay, good. See, that's why we wanted to get you. You know those smart things. You're able to tie those things together. I had no clue. I was just spun around with all this stuff. So here's an example. Tim McClellan came in first. Not surprising to see. Great player, and he's running Germans. Also not surprising to see, right? He pretty much exclusively runs World War II Germans, and he is taking a Fortress Europe German force, but the main formation appears to be coming from D-Day Germans, yet the support comes from Fortress Europe. He has a Panzer Grenadier company as his formation, armored Panzer Grenadiers, as a matter of fact. In support, he has a Luke Scout troop. He has a HS-129 aircraft, a Ferdinand, which is only in the Fortress Europe book at the moment. Then he takes a Lucky command card from the Fortress Europe command card deck, and then he takes D-Day German command cards to modify his armored Panzer Grenadiers, which includes the armored flak half tracks and the 116th Panzer Division Greyhound, which of course he saved 14 points by tanking. So he's got those, and then he takes a SS Stug platoon from D-Day Waffen SS. So he's using 3 different books and 2 different command card decks. So how is he able to do this?
Okay. Well, let me try and start and take you through the whole how you build this list. So the first thing Tim did is he looked at the 3 books and he said, where do I want my support to come from? And certainly he looked and he wanted the HS-129s and he wanted the Ferdinands, which are pretty much only available in the Fortress Europe book. So he said, okay, I'm going to take my support from this, and any support unit, as opposed to a black box formation support, has to come from that book. And any kind of force card, like the Lucky card, has to come from that book. Okay, so now he's got his base of support. Now he has to decide what formations he's going to have. So he looks at the formations and he says, okay, I want Panzer Grenadier platoon. I want a Panzer Grenadier formation from the D-Day book because I want to use the Greyhound card. So he goes to that book and he picks out the parts of a Panzer Grenadier formation and creates that formation. He doesn't have to take a formation from Fortress Europe. All he has to do is have his support coming from that. So now he's got his support from Fortress Europe. He's got a formation from the German D-Day book. He's got cards from both of them because he can take the 1/16th card and he can take the armored flak tracks because those are cards that specifically apply to either those units or those formations in the D-Day card deck. So now he's got those two things, and then he decides he also wants to add some Stugs to it. Now, the Stugs, the SS Stug tank platoon in the Waffen SS book is a compulsory unit for one of the formations in there. So as a compulsory unit, he can take that as a black box. So he can add that to his list. As formation support, you can take any black box compulsory platoon to add to your force. You can only take one, because if you're going to take two, then you got to take a whole formation of them.
Right.
So he could take a second Stug platoon in this, but he could, if he had the points, he could take a Stug SS tank platoon from this book, and he could take, a Panzer IV platoon from the D-Day book. Mm-hmm. as black box support. He could take as many of those as long as he doesn't repeat them, as long as they don't have the same title. He could actually also take if there's a here Stug platoon in one of the books, he could have an SS Stug platoon and a here Stug platoon as black boxes.
Yeah, and then a Fallschirmjäger Stug platoon.
Actually, sure, you certainly could. I mean, it's just like in the U.S. list, you can have a regular 76 platoon and you can have a veteran 76 platoon as black box if you wanted to have 276 Sherman tank platoons in there, for example. So that's how he puts together that list.
Okay.
It's a little confusing, but if you start by looking at pick my support, then pick your formation, then pick any black boxes, and then pick cards that apply to those within those parameters. It does open you up to a lot of opportunities. I mean, it opens up to also, certainly a lot of people will say it opens up to abuse. You can have, ahistorical lists, but this also allows you to create a historical list that Battlefront may not have covered. And it saves pages and pages of books with slightly different units. And
so it's like a toolbox.
Yeah, it is. It is very much so.
Yeah.
When we see the American Bulge book come out and the British book come out, we're going to see a lot more of this on those nationalities as well, because it allows you for that flexibility.
All right. Well, let me take a look at another one. So I'm gonna pull up another list here, and I'm gonna see if I can walk myself through it, and then you can tell me if I'm getting it correctly. This is one of the ones. So this, and I thought of something that would really help me out here. So this is Andrew Hobson's list, and this is what was really freaking me out. And this is a list that he won with at the second Wolfkrieg Flames of War event, the one just this past Saturday, and. Right. So right at the top, it says here SS, or says D-Day Waffen SS. So, with Panzer Grenadier Company, some armored, some not. Great. Then support, SS Scout Troop, SS Artillery, SS Tiger Tank, SS Panzer IVs. And then he used the D-Day command cards to go back and modify the Panzer Grenadier Company, which apparently is not SS. So I see D-Day Waffen SS at the top, and I immediately start thinking that everything below it is, and so that was thrown. Right. So I had that correct. So he's using a standard D-Day Panzer Grenadier formation with the 1/16th command card, but his support then is entirely Waffen SS support.
Correct. And I think the thing that is really deceiving on the printouts from Forces of War is that top title, as you say, on this list says D-Day Waffen SS Force. And the way that Forces works is it's referring to the book that your support has come out of.
Yeah. I know how to fix this. I don't know if they want to listen to me, but all they have to do is on that black line where it says Panzer Grenadier Company, put parentheses what book it came from. Where it says support, put parentheses what book it came from. If those black lines are properly labeled, then even I can keep it straight.
Right, so, because it is, as you go further down the page, you can see that the command cards are labeled what book they're coming from.
Right.
And all of that information. And yes, that would clarify a lot. And it would, and frankly, as a TO, it would make my life easier too, because as I look at that and as I'm validating lists, it'll tell me what I'm looking at.
Yeah, well, I think I've got a good clue now. I mean, I just look at the top entry, and that I know that directly connects to the support line. But then I just have to kind of make sure that the right command cards are going in with the right formation.
Correct. Yeah. Because, I mean, as hopefully we all know, Forces does not prohibit everything that is illegal.
Right.
It's not that complex a program to allow it to. It catches a lot of things and structures a lot of things, but there's a lot of stuff because of now we have a lot of complex interactions between items on your list. It's just not smart enough to catch that kind of stuff.
All right. Well, this helps clear things up for me heavily. So
Good.
Now I'm sure this is not the case at Andrews, but theoretically through Forces, that Panzer Grenadier Company could have come out of like Fortress Europe. And then we could have still taken the command card from D-Day, German D-Day command cards, the 116th Panzer card, but that then would have been illegal. I mean, Forces would have let us do that, but that would have.
Right. It might well have done that. Yes.
And that would have been very hard for you as a TO to catch.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to know. I think the difference is in the Shreks. If I'm not.
Yeah, there's some subtle things.
You can't take Shreks in the D-Day in the Fortress Europe list, but you can in the D-Day list.
Yeah, but for some reason, if they didn't select the Shreks, that line wouldn't even be in there. So
right, exactly. Yeah.
But then essentially it would have been the same by that point. So whatever.
Yeah.
but yeah, so it just would be a little bit more clear if they would just put the book by the formation name. They put the book it came from. That would really help out a lot.
Yeah.
And
that would be something to suggest to Greg, who handles Forces of War. Might be worth sending something to him to say that, because I don't know how easy or hard that is, but it certainly would help clarify things.
I wonder if he knew this is where it was going when he started designing the architecture. I wonder, I would have Battlefront knew where they were going with this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because it's, I mean, I appreciate, I love that point that you brought up that, well, this saves you from what we went through at version 3, which was buying, hundreds and hundreds of pages, which were essentially the same in book after book. I really love the command cards, and I anything that allows more flexibility, I'm in favor of. Even if that flexibility can let people go to dark corners that they should not go, that's on them. But like you said, there's other things you can now put together where you can get things in, and possibly get the exact historical recon unit that otherwise would not have been in the book. That in some of the D-Day armored Panzer divisions, some of them had very different anti-aircraft half tracks or assets. So pretty minor thing. I'll just run a half track as a half track with a 20 millimeter gun on it. But for some people, some of it was fairly different. All right, well, cool. I dig it. I think I wish Ed was on board for this. I'm sorry he's missing it, because I'm going to have to explain it all over to him.
Yeah.
And then he'll forget it, and then I'll have to explain it again. So cool. So tell me, then you made 2 Team Yankee tournaments for Wolfkrieg, the first one and the second one, and we got to play in the first one. And then you made the Flames of War event for the second one. So you got 3 of those tournaments, as you said, 9 games. And you had a good chance to review Chad's data crunching. Well, he didn't really crunch it. He just threw it out there.
He threw it out there, yeah.
So what did you take away? What did the numbers? Did you see anything? Is there any sifting through the tea leaves kind of takeaways that you had from that raw info that he put up there?
Well, I guess the first thing I want to, as we dive into the word meta and start talking about, that kind of stuff, I do want to highlight that experience also matters. As we look at, I went through the 4 tournaments, and there were lots of common names through the tournaments. And also, if you look at the top 5 finishers in the 4 tournaments, there are lots of common names there. So, of those top 5 in the 4 tournaments, that's 20 people placing in 1 through 5. 13 of those came from the same 6 people who were there, including you yourself, Tom, who placed in 3 of them in the top 5. I also placed in 2 of them. And all of those players are players who are long-time traveling players who go to a lot of tournaments, who have a lot of experience. Yeah. And so,
serious tournament players.
Yeah, as always, that can weigh on a lot of things in terms of just list construction as well as execution of lists. And I think as you pointed out, as we were discussing before this, in Team Yankee, you only play Russians. And you play a good bit of Team Yankee. So, one of the things that really pays off is playing a list over and over and over again, because every list has weaknesses, every list has strengths. The better players are going to know how to play the strengths and work against the weaknesses. Mm-hmm. So, I think there's a lot to be said on that. I think if you look at the 2 Team Yankee tournaments, which in both cases were pretty big Warsaw Pact blowouts in terms of total points. I think in both of them, it was almost close to a 2-to-1 in terms of victory points by the end of the tournament. I think there's some problems with. There's some structural issues with Team Yankee that they don't. There's such a variation. You can have everything can kill everything else, and you can get a lot of it on both sides. I faced Jacob Meyer's force at the last tournament, and he had 40 BMP-1s, 60 some infantry, another 10 T-55s, and that's a lot to slog through, and be able to finish a game. So I think we had a high number of games that did not finish in Team Yankee. So I think part of it may have been the 2.5 hours wasn't enough at 105 points. Mm-hmm. I know, in the game you and I played,
yeah, we had a draw.
If we had had another 20 minutes, I think probably I would have come out on that.
Yeah, you clearly had me on the downside, and we only got through turn 4. And one thing I did notice, thinking, well, normally I'm used to being a Soviet player with more stuff than my opponent. I can't tell you how many times I look across the table and I see an opponent that's more Soviet than me. I look at the Lavs and the M60s, or even your force had, your Dutch and your Humvees, and you had about as many things to move and shoot as I did, and generally, they weren't as well armored, but they were all harder to hit for sure, and it takes time. It takes time to roll those dice. When you're firing those Gepard things, the Dutch version of the Gepard, you're blasting away with all gobs of handfuls of dice. It takes a while to allocate those hits and swap those hits and do the saves and do the firepowers. Mm. So it takes some time to get through that.
And you pretty much have to. As a NATO player, you got to wear down your opponent. And in my game with you, in my game with Carl Bellotti, in my game, especially with Ed and with Jacob Meyer, in Ed's game, he was running a Soviet T-55 and an East German T-62 company, I think.
Yep.
And he had 30 tanks in his force. When time ran out, I had killed 28 of them. And he had almost nothing left to. He was attacking me in a counterattack. And it was at the point there that I was getting to the point that I could push him far enough away from the objective that I could win the game. But we hit the 2.5 hours and time ran out. And with Jake, we were playing no retreat. And by the time my force gave out just from being fired back upon, I had knocked out 38 or 39 of his 40 BMPs. But he still had 50 stands of infantry and 10 tanks on the table. I feel like really at 100, even 100 points for Team Yankee, you've got to talk about a 3-hour round, not a 2.5 hour round.
Yeah.
I think you'll find a lot more games finished that way.
Yep. I agree. I think the only one that I had I also had a draw against Andrew Hobson in our last game on the second Sunday, Team Yankee. And it was also on counter, so that was even, worse. You don't even start off with everything. It just kind of slowly builds up. And I think we may have played a healthy number of turns. I remember at least, 3 or 4 reserve dice. My reserves came in relatively quick, but I think at one point he was rolling 4 or 5 dice for reserve. So, we got past turn 6 or 7, but still, because it took so long to get to that point, that we were just there. Another couple of turns, and he might very well have had my left flank. And
especially in the I go, you go deployment missions, those take even longer to get everything out on the table. So you have even less time. I mean, even in counter or dust up where you're only putting half your force out or 2/3 your force out, it still takes a lot of time. So, I mean, I think the thing in general that I noticed because of all of this is that the Warsaw Pact tended to win games where they were defending. And I think most of the players, although you were an exception on that, most of the players chose to defend as the Warsaw Pact.
Yeah, I only defended against you. I attacked every other game.
You learned your lesson after that.
Yeah, that will never happen again.
but yeah, as I sort of scanned down, I printed out some of the mission, who played who and what they were doing. And on the ones you can see that Chad was able to get the defender or attacker. If you look at the Soviets, by far they're defending, which again works to that I've got so much stuff that the attacker has to slog through before they can get to a point. And again, with our game, I got to the point that I was able to start thinking about winning, and time ran out.
Yeah. And I know John Cederberg, he defended every single game.
Yes.
Straight up defend every time, and had a very infantry heavy force.
Yeah. And for whatever reason, also just kind of scanning through the missions that people played, it seems like compared to many tournaments, there were far fewer fair fights or meeting engagements played. There were a lot more no retreats, counterattacks, breakthroughs, where you have a traditional attacker defender. And I don't know why that was different in this one, but I'm used to a lot more free-for-alls and encounters and dust-ups, and it didn't seem like there were that many.
Well, maybe it's because, like you said, people were going the opposite end of the spectrum for choices between attack and defense.
Exactly. I think that's a big part of it, because I think as a NATO player, I can't think of a NATO list that I would choose to defend with.
Yeah. When I played Andrew in the last round, he flat out told me, I had to pick attack. I cannot let you just attack.
Right. Because the NATO can't afford to have a point off the table. That was with my list. I had a lot of air. I had a lot of helicopters in my list both weekends. And if I got stuck in a fair fight, those attack helicopters with their missiles are far diminished in their value because they can't move and shoot.
Yep, and you also have to worry about right, you're not being able to shoot your missiles on the first turn, your ATGMs.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
at all.
Yeah. You're really, from the time they arrive on the table, you're losing a turn. So I would be, there are a lot of things that I would not say that would keep me from saying, oh, the Warsaw Pact just dominates things, and there's give up all hope on NATO. I think it's more a case of we really need to look at the time for those games, and then see what happens when NATO has a little more time to use that sort of technical advantage that they have to be able to both wear down an opponent and then move forward.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that in the two games that I timed at, and yours and Andrew's, that more time would not have helped me. would clearly have helped my two opponents. So,
absolutely. And then looking at the Flames of War tournament, it's interesting that the two weekends were very different. In the first weekend, while the Germans took the first slot, the next 5 were Soviets.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the second weekend, while the Germans took the first 4 slots, the 5th one was Soviet, which was me. I was the highest finishing Soviet, and I think you were the second highest finished Soviet.
Yeah, with one win.
with one win, and I had 2 wins. And I mean, nobody had, only John Cederberg or only Andrew, the one weekend, I think Joe had. There were a couple people who had 3 wins.
Andrew had 3/8s, 3/8
Yeah. And Joe had 3 wins, and Jim had 3 wins. So the top 3 had 3 wins, and then it dropped down to a couple of 2 wins. But then there were a lot of people who just had 1 win, or no wins. So it was interesting, the flip on that, between the Soviets one weekend and the Germans the other. So, I mean, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I guess
we had a higher caliber competition in the second weekend. I mean,
right.
We had a couple of, serious tournament players in the first weekend. But from our local group, they're much more casual gamers. And I won't say that in any sort of disparaging way, but,
no.
They play a plethora of games. Flames of War, Team Yankees are just part of their repertoire. And they're great when we do our campaigns, and they enjoy it. But they just don't have the experience with those forces that, played them as much in a competitive environment to really look 2 or 3 turns ahead and predict what was going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing to look at too on the Flames, is I think there was a huge diversity of lists. I was talking with John Cederberg about it, who was running his Greyhound German list.
Yeah.
That he's been running since Masters, because it's been working for him. And he was surprised how few Greyhound lists there were on that second weekend.
So was I.
Andrew was running one kind of.
Yeah.
But
and also, so a few pack fronts.
Right, exactly.
John had it, but he was like the only one with a pack front.
Yeah, I think didn't Andrew have? I think he had. No, maybe he didn't. Maybe he didn't.
No, I'm not sure. I can pull his list up.
Oh yeah.
Take a look at it.
But for example, Jim McKinney, who won the first weekend and came in third the second, was running a Here Tiger company.
Yeah, that's surprising.
So I mean, there was really, we saw a lot of Panthers on the German side as well as the Soviet side, but we saw a number of lists. Charlie Clay had a Panzer IV platoon, a Panzer IV company with 5 Panthers in one platoon.
Mm-hmm.
There was, I think that's good news, and not a sign of the meta, or having a meta, that we had such diversity. Even same thing with the Soviets. I mean, there was a lot. As you may have guessed, I was running Hero shock rifles again, as I am wont to do, and they did well for me. But we saw assault gun lists, we saw T-34 85 lists, we saw there was a T-34 76 list as well. Here's Ed.
Yeah. Finally got him back in.
Yeah, finally.
Yeah.
So, I think there was a great bit of diversity in the Flames lists, and yeah.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, it was good to, like, when I saw Jim McKinney's Tiger Company, I was like, I don't know about that. And of course, he trounced me twice, the first Saturday and the second Saturday. I'm like, oh well, I guess I better reevaluate that. And I don't know why I didn't. I played a Tiger Company in one of your events. It was your Masters warm up like 2 years ago, and I brought a Tiger Company up there, and I just thought it'd just be fun to give it a shot. I wasn't too serious about it, and I did very well with it.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to relook those things.
Yeah. Well, certainly there were a lot of Tigers across the German list. I mean, a lot of people had a platoon of 2 or a platoon of 3, sometimes gear, sometimes SS. But I mean, that certainly is something you see a lot of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played Scott Atkinson in November on the he had the 7 Tiger list then, and I was playing British Shermans, and I didn't kill a single Tiger, but I won the game because I got to within 4 inches of the objective with my Daimler platoon, and he failed a cross check with a 2+. He failed his cross check to get over there and cover it, and I won. Not killing a single thing because he had a pure Tiger list. And so, yeah.
No, it was good for us. One of our newer players, Alan Gomez, he has a Tiger list, which is great because he only needs 5 models and a little bit of infantry on the side, and
yeah,
pretty good. Pretty good. Well, Ed, when he played Team Yankee, we had to stack up on the Soviet side because we were talking about the meta, like, on the Facebook, like, look at the Soviets are doing so well, it confirms Soviet bias or something, right? But the reality is that there weren't that many people for the second weekend that signed up to play Soviet. So Chad, the TO, myself, and Ed, we had to play in order to balance out and make. So that's how we got above 16. That's how we got up to 18, because there was only going to be like 4 Soviet players and like 9 NATO players, or Blue Force players. So we did have a blue on blue every round on the second weekend. Because of that. Too. But imagine if they didn't have if Chad didn't come in as Soviet and didn't have me and Ed ready to jump in to help balance it out. So you would have had only 4 Soviet players, who basically chose to play that. Now I would have had to be given the choice because that's all I planned. But I was on standby. If it was the other way around, I'm out of luck. I would not get to participate. But when Chad said, "Hey man, I really need you guys to play Soviet," I said, "Oh, I'm there." And then he said Ed needs to play Soviet, and Ed's never played Soviets in Team Yankee. So I fortunately I had enough stuff to put together a force for him, and he did pretty darn well. That T-72 horde backed up by the T-72 East Germans backed up by the Soviet T-55s.
Yeah. Chris and I played that that tournament. Yeah,
that was basically all that was left out of my collection after I had my own force. And then I looked at Ed's force and I thought, man, I don't know. I think I want to run this one myself. That was pretty good. Well, anyways, I guess any other thoughts or words of wisdom here for? I guess what I'm getting from you, Chris, is that don't take too much away from that event. It was a pretty unique event. It was red on blue. That there were some very experienced players that good players do well, and it doesn't necessarily mean that lists are the bomb or the meta. So it's still quite wide open, and you've just explained to us, Ed. I'm going to have to tell you, I'm not going to have him go over it again, but I'll explain to you how those lists are working now. Now I understand it. I can articulate it to you later on.
Well, it wouldn't matter anyway because you would have had to tell me twice before I got it anyway.
Yeah, we'll do so. We'll get a chance to do that.
Yeah. I think yes. I think there are many factors. I think there was a good bit of diversity. I think we didn't have enough time necessarily to really resolve on the Team Yankee side of it, and I don't think as a NATO player, I am now just continuing to look for how can I make my list better to be able to deal with what I need to deal with. And if I can get help with a little more time, I think, you will see more NATO victories in the future.
Yeah, but not smaller lists necessarily, because we think
because I think because if you want to try and do if the answer is let's just do 80-point lists, then you're really, I think, hurting the NATO players.
Agree.
And Soviets really, or Warsaw Pact still have lots of options at that level.
Yeah.
Well, Ed, are there any questions you want to ask Chris before we've actually been on for a good bit, and even though you just joined us, but was there anything in the back of your mind that you're curious about?
I found his comment very interesting. He said there at the end, I need to find things that can, I can't quote it now, but I need to get my force that's capable of handling my opponent's force, something of that nature. And that's the same situation we had in real life. We had to deal with numbers. And so we had to figure out how we're going to handle these numbers. And then over time, we've developed different weapon systems for real life. And just like the game, we've realized, up to this point, and you could see that we're getting to the more current modern battles now. Those more modern equipment we're using, the upgraded M1s, et cetera, the Allies' advancements in their vehicles and equipment and weaponology there is what's allowing us to handle the numbers that NATO would have faced. And so it's becoming more realistic.
Well, I know one thing you need to do, Chris. You need to get Joe Lewis to add early Team Yankee to the rankings, so we can start getting the Fate of the Nation, Nam, and Checkpoint Charlie ready.
Yes,
that'll be fun. So, and of course, by the time this podcast is posted, the event will be past. But he has his his Facebook Live event that he does. That's tomorrow night. This is Tuesday, the 23rd. So tomorrow night he'll be doing there'll be, I don't know who he's going to have on there. Hopefully Chad or somebody, but they're going to be doing a Wolfkrieg wrap up on that one too. So you might get a few more points of info out of that one. So so you can go search that on the internet. You're just hearing it now for the first time. It'll be out there floating around somewhere.
Yeah.
The battle ranking slide. So. All right. Well, I think this has been informative. I have learned something. I wish you were here when we did the it's going to follow this segment, but the rules Ed forgot actually was like rules that all these top players forgot, including you, Chris. You were on there. Andrew was on there. I was on there. John Cedarberg was on there. So I was like, we busted out all the Masters players that are getting things wrong. And that's important to take away, that especially don't be intimidated by some stupid, shirt or something, or don't never hurt to ask the question, and always, not everybody gets everything right all the time, and we all make mistakes. So
we all have to go to the book and look at the book, and that's and that's the key. If you're confused, open the book, look at the rule, read the wording, because many times your memory of the wording is very different than the actual wording in the book, and that can lead you down the wrong path.
Tom can definitely verify that. My interpretation takes several readings before I get it right.
Well, even if you've been playing a while, Chris blew my mind. I can't remember. It might have been Flames of War. I'm not sure which tournament we were playing at. They're all kind of blurring together. But I was trying to range in, and there was Rex under the template, and you pointed out, well, that's going to be an additional penalty to range in because Rex are terrain, and I was flabbergasted. And I'm a very, very experienced, very well-traveled, very, into the game player. And how can I go for so long in this game system not knowing that? It's just amazing to me that things like I'm still learning things all the time.
Well, again, it's a case of if you look on the terrain chart a wreck is listed as short terrain. And the bombardment rules say if you are over short or tall terrain, it's a +1. So, you put those things together. Yeah.
I just came up with my new tactic I'm going to use. I'm just going to spread my deafness all over the board, so at least I get some kind of cover underneath some potential failures for artillery ranging in.
Yeah, if only we still had recovery vehicles in the game, you could just drag one along with your forces.
That'd be fun.
There you go. My plan.
Yeah, I just saw an STL file for an M88 Hercules, so
oh yeah,
I might be putting one of those as a objective or something.
Cool.
Very good. All right, well, Chris, we greatly appreciate your time. Ed, sorry you missed that. You'll get to listen to it here shortly when we put it in production. But as always, very informative, and you help us make us better, smarter players, Chris. And I greatly appreciate it.
Thanks, Chris.
Well, enjoy talking to you both. Bye-bye.
Have a good night.
Target! Ceasefire!
Be bold as lame. Hard Knocks Games is awesome. You can get board games, trading card games, role-playing games, hobby supplies and tools, Gundam, Warhammer, and more. Find us on Facebook or hardknocksgames.com or visit us on the Dixie Highway.
Okay, well, that was great talking with Chris. It always is, and I feel I know a lot more now.
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we're lucky to get him on board. I know we want to get more diversity, get more people in here, but we just had to talk to Chris about where we're at in the meta, especially after the Wolfkrieg results, because there's a lot of discussions on Facebook about, the Soviet meta, or that's the only where it's at, or you must always attack, or you must always take pack front. And I think from the Wolfkrieg tournaments, we saw a lot of different approaches to get to the top. So glad he could help clarify and answer some of our questions for us.
So Tom, you've been at these tournaments a lot lately, but you've got a new toy you've been playing with. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Maybe for a second. I'm continuing to experiment with 3D printing. It's been a good learning process. A little bit burnout on it. Been putting too much time for it, not getting any painting done. But I did write an article for No Dice, No Glory that was posted on Friday, and it was really, I got a lot of nice compliments. I got some good emails and some positive feedback on the response and on the forums. So appreciate that, folks. And basically, it's not the panacea. It's not the end all. There's a lot of cons to it. There's a lot of pros to it, and I try to be fair and balanced and talked about my way forward with it and how I'm not going to repeat that because I touched on it in our last podcast and it's in the article. So and also Paolo, our No Dice No Glory contributor from Italy, he had an article that preceded mine on 3D printing. So I think you're going to see more and more of it. A lot of people I've been talking to planning to get 3D printers, especially with their the stimulus checks. Stimulating the Chinese economy because all these things are made in China, all these Anycubics and photons and frozen.
China.
Yeah, they're all China. China. So in any case, we'll see more about that. But that's all I want to say about, 3D printing for now. So let's go into rules Ed forgot. And we'll do this as kind of a quiz.
Okay.
None of these, was there a rule you forgot or something you came across? Because these are all my observations from the four Wolfkrieg events.
You know what, Tom? I didn't write down anything I forgot and got enlightened on, so I kind of forgot what I may have forgotten.
Well, I wrote them down, and for the ones in the games that I played, for things that I forgot or had to look up, or things my opponents did. So I got a bit of a laundry list. So I'll tell you this. The individual and what the question was, and we'll see if you can guess what the answer is.
God help me. Okay.
Well, you get to guess. You can.
Yeah, this will be fun.
All right.
You can laugh hard at me. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So in Team Yankee, can you put attachments in ambush even when their infantry platoon is deployed on the board?
I would say yes, because in other things in Team Yankee, the attachments can operate independently.
You are correct, sir. And that came up in my game with Chris Fretz, the first Team Yankee, the first weekend we did Team Yankee when I played him in the opening round. So yes, I was defending and I put my BMP infantry on the board, but I wanted to keep my 10 BMPs as a big solid, big boof, ambush unit with 10 shots of missiles.
Well, look at that. 1 for 1.
Well, and Chris, you knew that, but Chris Fretz did not. So that was interesting that. So the second one I have is does smoke block line of sight to between air and anti-aircraft, so I can AA shoot over smoke on the battlefield.
Team Yankee or Flames of War?
I will say this is specifically came up in Team Yankee, so we'll go with that. But it's probably the same rule for both. Let's hope.
Okay, well, I would think it may, depending on the type of anti-aircraft. I'm talking real life kind of stuff. If you have a thermal sight.
No. Forget that real life crap. Go right to the game.
Okay.
Yeah. Real life doesn't always influence the game very much when it comes to rules.
Okay, so I would say for anti-aircraft, no.
Okay, well, you're partially correct. So it does not block line of sight. So if you have, in most cases, okay. But if the smoke is within 4 inches of the AA
look
shooter.
At my fingers on the screen. I had that one. There you go.
Yeah, so it may, but the smoke screen has to be within 4 inches, and the AA unit has to be on the opposite side from the aircraft it's shooting at.
Right.
That makes sense, right? So it has to be within 4 inches of the unit of the AA unit or AA team, I should say, and that fire has to be coming through the smoke. So yes, it can block anti-aircraft, but when it does. It has to be very close to the shooting item.
Yeah, so, just like tall terrain, it's the same thing.
Yep, and I learned that in my game against Andrew Hobson when I finally brought in my Hind Ds. God, it's almost ridiculous trying to get Hinds on the battlefield with all the NATO AA stuff in a red on blue event. And he had 2 Gepard units, and he had what is that evil British missile, Rapier, whatever.
Rapier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so my Hinds had no chance, and I was hoping that I could put smoke, use their pre-ranged in marker to guarantee I could put out a smoke screen and kind of section off, protect my Hinds when they go blew away some other, exposed units. That strategy did not work. That's not how it works. So, any case, so good. Thanks for educating me on that, Andrew, on that game. So, this next one, this is a Flames of War question.
Okay.
In Flames of War, air units down to 1 team do or do not have to reroll hits in bombardments. So if you have Sturmovix and you're using rockets and you're down to 1 Sturmovix, do they have to reroll hits?
Do not.
You are correct, sir. Mm-hmm. You are correct. In Team Yankee, they do. If you're down to 1 or 2 planes in Team Yankee, you have to reroll hits, just like their artillery pieces.
Oh, I messed that up then during the tournament because I knocked down half of his aircraft, and I said, no, you still get your full meal deal. No,
they don't.
That was a painful mistake on my part because it cost me 6 of my tanks.
Well, if he has 3, if the opponent has 3 aircraft, they will. That's fine. But 2 aircraft or 1 aircraft will re-roll hits in their bomb rocket, bombardment attacks.
Yeah. Well, I knocked down 2 of his 4.
Yeah, on the flip side, though, if they have 5+ teams, they reroll misses. So that's why you have in Team Yankee, you can, 6 frog feet, or frog foot Su-25s, right?
Right.
That's why you get that option in there, so they can get those rerolls. So anyway, so that came up in my game against John Cedarberg in a Flames of War game. So he thought that he'd knocked down one of my Sturmovix and with a 88 shot. And when they came in the next town, he thought I had to reroll hits because I only had a single plane. I said, no, they're fine until they're gone. Also, in Flames of War, aircraft do not take morale checks. You have to completely destroy them.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in Team Yankee, if you get down to 1 aircraft, you're taking a unit last stand, unit good spirits check, or what do they call it?
So answer this. Why do they put courage, or not courage, but morale on the card there?
Which card? Team Yankee or Flames of War?
Flames of War.
I don't know that they do. I'd have to go look at it.
I have to look at it again too, but I think it's on there, and I always wonder why they have it on there.
Well, it's on the Team Yankee card. Well, maybe they'll come up with a rule in the future or something that have an impact. But at Team Yankee, you do use that roll when you get down to one aircraft. So, okay, so that's good. John Cederberg got educated a little bit on that one. And then the next one, okay. Oh, well, we just talked about that. The air units take last stand test when they get down to one team. We just covered that. And that was neither Andrew. That was also my game against Andrew Hobson, and neither he or I knew the answer. We had to look it up. so that was pretty funny. And then
I do remember something that I wasn't sure on.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, and this had to do with morale. Oh, I need to get the card again. Morale and what's above the morale on the top there, top left? I don't have a card in front of me.
Skill.
Morale and
skill.
I can't remember it now, but the question was morale and rally or something like that.
No, you have morale, and that's usually a single rating, but then sometimes they'll have a different entry for last stand, or a different entry for counterattack, or different entry for remount. Maybe some variation there.
Okay, the difference between last stand and and rallying for, for example, pinned down.
Okay.
So what's the difference?
Well, it depends on what unit you're talking about. Usually it's the same thing.
Yeah. Which one do you use? Do you use rally or morale?
For what?
For last stand.
You use the if it is different, you use the last stand routing. You use it if there's nothing else.
But it doesn't have last stand on there.
Then you use morale.
That's what I said. Okay, good.
Okay, that is correct.
Yeah.
So the morale rating is what you use for all of that stuff, unless there's something that's different, and then there's something that different would be below it, and that would be, it might be a different remount rating. So that's what if it doesn't say remount, 4+, then you use whatever your morale is. If it doesn't
I'm talking about the unit card there. So
that's on the unit card.
Right.
There's also like if you're playing SS, you may have, or like Germans, for World War II, typical Germans right now, their last stand is a 3+, but the morale is normally a 4. So normally they only remount on 4s. Normally they only unpin on 4s. Normally they only follow me on 4s, and normally they only counterattack on 4s. But when it comes to last stand, it's a 3.
Yeah, but I'm talking in particular Team Yankee, because they have rally and morale. It's driving me crazy. Let me get a card.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll talk about the next one. You go into that, and this was spearheading. Can you come within 8 inches of a team if it is concealed when you're spearheading? And the answer is yes. I thought you had to stay 16 inches away from enemy deployment zones and objectives. And I thought that I thought you could never get within 8 inches of a team, but you can when it's concealed. It's that way in Team Yankee, and I believe it's the same way in Flames of War. So that came up in my my game against Andrew Hobson. And anyways, where I didn't realize he could move in as close on a spearhead as he did. So, okay, did you find your card there, Ed?
Yeah, it's courage and morale. So knowing when to use what. So when it does, so the last stand is if it doesn't say last stand, and it doesn't say last stand. Okay, so the morale of the unit is what's being asked there. So courage would be to I would assume on the movement orders, or unpinning, those kind of things. But for morale has to do with last stand, correct?
Hold on a second here.
Okay. Yeah, get your cards out. You'll see what I'm talking about. And so people seem to be confused on that. And I know I was, because they were trying to tell me one thing that I thought was different.
All right, well, let me take a look at the book entry. How about that? My cards.
Courage and morale. And the way we ended up playing, Chris and I were playing it like morale was the unit as a whole.
Okay, so courage is is the basic morale rating. That's why it's in red. And if there's nothing else listed, that's what you use for everything.
Right.
And so morale then below that would be if it's something different. So like the Soviets, these are guys I'm pretty familiar with, right?
You still haven't answered the question. Yeah.
I'm trying to answer the question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting to it. I'm trying to tell you from the basis of what I'm used to playing with these guys. So if I got one of my typical Soviet units, their courage is a 4+, right?
Yeah.
But for morale below that, I use that for my last stand rating. If it says morale in Team Yankee, that's used for last stand. If it says rally, that's unpinning. So basically, it's like your BMP, your motor rifle platoons or motor rifle companies are 3+ for both last stand and for rallying, but they're only 4+ for everything else that has to do with courage. So counterattack 4+, follow me 4+, right?
Right.
So the base rating is what's in the red, and if there's a special variation of that, it'll be listed below. So to answer your question, when it says morale 3+, that's what you use for last stand, and that's all you use it for.
That's
when it says
it.
rally, you use that only for rallying, for unpinning. If it says remount, you use that only for remounting. Otherwise, you use what's up in the red area. Does that make sense?
Yep. That's the way I understood it also. Okay.
There you go.
That
it gets confusing. It would be nice if they were formatted the exact same way, but yeah. I couldn't tell you offhand. I had to go look at a card for my Soviets to even know what you're talking about. So.
Of course, I didn't explain it that well either, so that didn't help.
Well, it's radio, right? We don't have the visuals, so you can't point it out, and then the audience has no idea what the hell we're looking at. All right, well, let's wrap this puppy up. So what's coming up with future events here?
Well, that's a good question. Now that my computer timed out in the process. Well, give me half a second if you want to start.
I will not make the people wait a second. I will start off while you try to get your stuff set. So let's not lose our few listeners we have. So on the 27th of March, there will be a 120-point Team Yankee event at Game Table Adventures in Newark, Ohio. So that's next weekend. So it's already happened by the time you heard this podcast.
Okay.
I'd love to go, but I'm going to be out of town, family, hunting trip and everything. So it'd be great. John Meyer's running that. So contact John for more information. Then the 17th of April, there is a 95-point Team Yankee Last Chance event being run at D6 Games in Rochester, Minnesota. And Tom Gall's running that one. And so, and that's the reason they call them that Last Chance is probably because April is the end of April is when they cut off the annual scores for Masters for Team Yankee. So they're running one more event to try to get some people one more scores to help some of their local guys bump up a little bit.
Yeah,
and then,
let me add one more to your list there. At Wolfkrieg, Scott Atkinson made an announcement that was it Station Retro is what the name of the place is there.
It's on there. Alabama. Yeah, 10th of June. We're getting to it.
No, 10th of April.
No, is it 10th of April or 10th of June?
The 10th of April.
I don't think it's the 10th of April.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay, it could be one of those things that Ed forgot, but it sure sounded like April to me.
I'm pretty sure I didn't hallucinate the June. It was because I remember when I first heard about it, I thought it was going to conflict with the D-Day event. So we'll try to confirm that.
We'll get back to that one, yeah.
Yeah, it might be 10th of April or it might be 10 June, but I'm gonna go with 10 June because I believe that's when I came across it. That's what I was listening. Unless they changed it since that posting, that's possible. Okay. Maybe it was 10th of June and now it's 10th of April. But let's go down to the sequence we have here. So 24th of April, and they're going to be doing a NOM.
Oh man!
Yeah, red versus blue NOM. 100-point tournament in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and Tim McClellan.
Gosh, I know you want to get on that one, don't you?
I do. I'd love to take you with me. You could run my U.S. stuff or my Vietnamese. We could both run Vietnamese. I have Pavin and Viet Cong. So you do well with the list I loan you. So
yeah, I seem to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that'd be a great event. You need experience. Love to get out to that. And man, it's not listed on here, but. There's another event coming up in Minnesota that they're doing up there with that group that Chris, my buddy Chris Grau was telling me about. Yeah. They're doing a early war Team Yankee thing where it's going to be
early war Team Yankee.
Yeah, well, what they're doing is you can play a NOM unit or you can do Fate of the Nation, either of those. So you're going to have like the VC playing against the Israelis.
Okay, you mean a 1960s conflict?
Basically, yeah. 60s, early 70s, maybe. So, anyways, good on them for getting some nom on the board. We'd love to join you. Tim has been gracious enough to harass me, trying to get me to come out there, and I'd love to, but I will have just getting back from my family trip, so that's doubtful. But I'd love to be able to do it. I think it'd be about a 5-hour trip for us to get up to Pittsburgh.
It's a good drive. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a unique event. It sounds like fun.
Yeah,
a little closer to home. Yep, a little closer to home for us in the 5th of June, up in Milford, Ohio. Carl Trier is running a D-Day 105 points themed event. So that'd be pretty cool. I love seeing all this red versus blue stuff going on. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then 10th of June, this is what we think, at least I think right now, is the Flames of War Existential Threat 20-player event being run at Station Retro in Huntsville, Alabama.
Yeah.
Hashtag could be 10th of April. we don't know.
I
don't doubt that that's what you think you heard. I'm just going off what I saw in print. So, it needs to be in print for me to put it on here, I guess.
Okay. All right.
So, but it could have changed since I saw it. That's entirely possible. So take that as and maybe they changed it because of what follows after that. And 10th of June, that can't be right. Maybe you are right, Ed, because the 10th of June, the 12th and 13th are Saturday and Sunday. So the 10th of June
is during the week.
Yeah, maybe it is April.
Maybe Ed is right after all.
Oh, I can't believe it. I refuse to believe that. Anyways, so maybe that gives a little more weight to being April. So, folks, stand
by on that. Maybe Scott sent me a text on that one.
Well,
all right. Go ahead and continue.
Well, yeah, this 10th of June is not a weekend day, so that doesn't make sense. So, what is it? Break out your old calendar there. Yeah. What do we have for the? When is the 10th of April? 10th of April is a Saturday.
Yeah.
10th of June is a Thursday, so it's not 10th of June, folks. So we'll have to go with 10th of April for now. I must have typed it wrong or read it wrong or hallucinated or something. Mm-hmm. So, anyways, it's a great event. That would be about a 4-hour trip for us to get down there.
Yeah, it's not a bad ride.
Yep. So that's and 20 players. It sounds like they'll have a pretty good, pretty good group there.
Sounds like the Atlanta guys want to go to that.
Yep. And then, of course, it's great for them. And also folks from Nashville will be able to get there pretty easily.
Yep. Right.
Awesome. A lot of Tennessee folks. And it'd be great to see some players we don't normally get to see. Mm-hmm. So June, now really definitely June, DICON. DICON's out there in Collinsville, Illinois. It's an annual convention. And Will Yankowski is going to run 2 events. He's going to run a Flames of War 105 point. I think it's just open on Saturday, 12th of June. And then he's going to run a 105 point Team Yankee event on the 13th of June. Now, because of COVID, I guess this is how they're planning to do it. They're going to limit the participation at this convention to 400 people total. It's a small convention. I don't know what their normal number would be, but I imagine 400 is some degree less than that. So it may be kind of dicey. You definitely want to get a hold of Will Yankowski and see how it's going because the event could fill up the convention and with like only a handful of Flames of War Team Yankee players making it in for whatever day that we're talking about here. So if you want to go to that, you might want to register early because they might have room in the tournament, but they may not have room to get in the convention. It's kind of a unique situation. So that could happen. Mm-hmm. And then there's I had more than this. I think some of my stuff is missing. We have Gen Con is kind of different. Chris can tell us more about, or will have told us more. We'll ask him about that in the portion. We have Advance the Colors and what is the Origins, both planned in October. Sensicon. Sensicon has dropped back to October. So they're already planning for events for that. Carl's already getting geared up for Team Yankee and Flames before Sensicon. Mm-hmm. I don't think I quite have all my events on here.
What about NashCon?
NashCon has been moved back into August, so they're planning to go, and they will not have Flames of War Team Yankee. In fact, if it remains that way, I will probably run a Flames of War and/or Team Yankee event at the exact same time. So
okay, all right.
Because they're they said they didn't have room for it. Like really, we could I'm sure that we could fill up one of those rooms just as well as any other event they're doing.
Yeah, I'm sure we could.
But in any case, so the NashCon folks don't seem interested in having us run an event for them, and I've run it for them myself in the past, and I've run multiple events at NashCon for Flames of War Team Yankee, but they just no interest at this point. And a lot of people are asking it for too. So I just on the NashCon Facebook group, I said, hey, well, they don't have one that day, and that's a weekend people want to do some Flames of War and or Team Yankee. I'll put something together just 2 hours north.
Yeah. So, well, I tell you what, maybe we just need to get a hold of Kennedy and see if he'll consider running it down there.
They're not going to have an event at NashCon for Flames of War Team Yankee. It's not for lack of people willing to run it. It's because they're not going to give the space to it.
Oh, I see. I got you.
So, yeah. Otherwise, I would have run it. I've run it in the past. I'd run it in the future. I said so. But they're not interested in adding it. So okay, no problem. Don't want our business. We'll run an event elsewhere, and then you could have had whatever 20 people that would have been going to yours. We'll just do something somewhere else. No problem. So, in any case, we'll see how that pans out. So, anyways, it's good to see the light at the end of the tunnel, as we mentioned earlier. There's a lot of events coming up. Oh, God, Lord, there's an event. God, there's another one posted for Delaware coming up. I saw. This is not my updated list. This is must have been an earlier one, and it clearly has an error under the Huntsville, Alabama event.
Hey, Tom, I got a question for you. Have we heard anything from West Coast? Are they starting to get? Because I know they're a little still hunkered down out west.
No, but I haven't heard anything from them. Las Vegas Open in January. They're still planning for that to occur. So that's almost a full year away.
Yeah. So,
and there's a Kubla Khan event usually during the summer. I think it's in San Francisco or Sacramento. I don't know. There's Enfilade is another convention up in like Seattle area or Portland. I think it's Seattle. So there's some tournaments or some conventions that would have tournaments, and there's also stores, Las Vegas, Los Angeles area that have events occasionally. And those folks out in Utah, I know it's not quite the West Coast, but the GA Golf Alpha Juliet Oscar. I don't know what that acronym stands for, but there's a Salt Lake City, Utah game store that runs events too. So I haven't heard much from them lately.
Gajo.
Yeah, Gajo. And what's our buddy Montalvo?
Yeah, you're right.
Alex. He's been doing some stuff on Facebook trying to organize some West Coast action. I've seen some of the discussions on things they're thinking about, but I just don't know that anything's locked in yet. And as soon as I know something for sure, I will be glad to post it here. And apologies to the folks in Delaware. I should have your event on here. I had it, and I somehow messed up in editing, and maybe I have an earlier version here because this is not. I know it's not the full list that I'm aware of. Yeah. So. But I got to get this thing done. We got to get this podcast out for the end of the month, so we meet our, it becomes part of the quota for this month allocation. So that's pretty much it. We'll we do have the forums on No Dice, No Glory. There's an event section there, Flames of War section. I'll try to go in there and kind of put a quick little updated thread of what I know, what's going on, and links for emails for the organizers and stuff. And there's also the Battlefront forum. You can always check that too. Although I don't think people use that as much anymore. I barely even look at it myself these days. So, any case, that's rambling on for me. So, Ed, anything else we want to cover? I think pretty much.
No, that's good. We spent a lot of time already. We'll cover other stuff next time.
All right. Well, one last thing. The podcast at BattleVault.com. Give us some feedback. Tell us about the events. Tell us whatever you want us to do better or less of or whatever. Give us some feedback. Unfortunately, if you have sent us such information over the last couple of months, we may not have been receiving that email. I did a test run a week ago and found out that the DNS thing was not pointing to the correct cert, whatever. So basically, it's operational now. So if you said podcast at BattleVault.com, I will get that email now and be happy to respond and incorporate your suggestions. We'd love to do that. And then also on the No Dice, No Glory forums, you can find us there. And you could probably ping me on Facebook on the Flames of War Team Yankee group. I'm on the official ones and unofficial ones both, and some other regional Flames of War Team Yankee Group. So pretty easy to get a hold of us to give us feedback if you'd like to. So I think that about wraps it up, Ed.
All right, Tom. We'll see you next time with it.
All right. Thanks a lot, buddy. We'll see you.
Okay.
And
All right.
take care, everybody out there in TV land. It's not red, 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 it's not red. It is now red.